Shalom. First, I want to say, call Halayim, Wahawad, La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem Kakadash. Double honors to the elder apostles of the Great Millstone, Ruwell, who have taught us this truth. Shalom to you, fellow laborers out there that's doing this work in truth and sincerity. Also, you Fuakwaf that listen and learn. In this video, I don't have a title for it, so at the end of this video, Lord willing, to have a title. But it's surrounded around Joe Rogan, the scrutiny he going through with this whole N-word thing, and I caught this video clip from his show, fair use by the way, and one thing I remember the elder apostles saying is that when they made mention that every Israelite ain't gonna look like John Shaft, I absolutely believe that according to faith, because excuse me, you gotta factor in that Israel was scattered, man. All right, the Lord scattered us among the nations, Deuteronomy 28:64, and you're gonna have Israelites come out of all these different lands. It tells you that in the scriptures when you go into the lands. What the Lord said, He's gonna gather us from all the countries where He scattered us to, and bring us back unto our land, which is the land of Israel. And so you have Israelites among all nations, whether they I'm just gonna mention the names they're called by today, whether they among the so-called Africans, among the so-called Arabs, among the so-called Chinese, among the so-called Japanese, among the so-called Hawaiian Polynesians, among the so-called Caucasians, among the so-called East Indians, and in between the ones I may have missed, Syria, the so-called Syrians. A lot of people are among all those people, and so listening to this video clip, I just was inspired the spirit to do a video, because I believe these two gentlemen right here, Joe Rogan and this other guy, I don't know him, I'm not familiar with him, but his lineage go back to the Sicilians, man. And if you know anything about the Sicilians, the Moors, man, was the ones responsible for creating those Sicilians and Southern Italians, especially during the Dark Ages, when Jake took over Europe and Spain and all that, Italy and all that. So, Lord willing, this video is edifying, and I'm gonna get right into it. Let's play. I'm gonna let it play probably about a minute or so, a little over a minute. So here we go.
You're 2%, right? Yeah, I know. And it's funny because you sort of have the story in your family, kind of like where you came from, and everything made sense. And I always knew I was 25%, Italian, and I knew that my family came from Sicily. In fact, the Ranellas that came from Sicily all seem to become kind of established in the produce world.
If you know anything about Sicily, you would know that the Sicilians and the Southern Italians, they get along well, because they, for the most part, are the same lineage. Now you may have, I say the most part, because you have some Esau seed among Jake, so I have to say for the most part, all right. So I gotta be, I gotta be honest about that. You got the seed of Edom, Esau, among us, and that's just what it is. The scriptures speak about the tares and the wheat, which the tares are the seed of the wicked one, which is Esau, Edom. Okay, so, but this man's father, he gonna explain, his lineage, his actual lineage. Numbers 1:18. Let's grab it real quick. I'll grab it real quick. Let's go to Numbers 1:18. And it says, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names from 20 years old up and upward by their polls. So pedigree means bloodline or lineage. All right, so let's get back to this video and hear what this guy got to say.
Dad was brought up in the south side of Chicago. I'm 44 years old, okay? So think about that for a minute. My dad was brought up in the south side of Chicago, and he was raised by his grandfather, who was Sicilian and had come from Sicily. His grandfather delivered produce with a horse and cart.
Whoa.
In Chicago. So to have lived through that, like to be brought up in a house where a guy like leaves in the morning in a horse and cart to deliver produce, and then to be alive, like to fight in World War II, to be through the atomic era, the advent of the internet, right? But I always knew that we had Sicilians. When I did the genetic test, at some point in time, one of those Sicilians must have shot southward and crossed the Mediterranean and like had a hookup down there or something.
Well, that was the history of Sicily in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, Sicily, just being Sicilian in the first place, there were so many people that were impregnated by the Moors and by various people of West Africa and North Africa.
Yeah.
Up. There we go. That's exactly what I wanted you to hear right there. That's why I let that clip play for so long. Because the point is, he mentioned the Moors. Now, if you know anything about the Moors were Israelites, man. You go into the history of the Moors, they were Israelites that they was warring with the so-called Arabs, the Ishmaelites, and the ones that was conquered, was forced to practice the religion of Islam. Okay, but you had many of the Moors. They knew they were Israelites. Some of them practiced their customs, which are the laws, commandments, statutes. But then, like I said, some of them they was getting down with Islam. But that's the guy that was speaking to Joe Rogan's guest. Now, someone would look at Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan, he himself comes from the Moorish blood. And by the way, I gotta see the Moors. This is the Moors right here. This is Jake, man. Namely of the tents of Judah, Judah, Benjamin, Levi. They were the ones mainly ruling over there. But he said north and the west coast of Africa. Where did slaves come from? North and the west coast of Africa, right? Mainly the west coast, right? Which, when you know the history, all right, the history of the transatlantic slave trade, the ships that came or went to Africa to begin with to bring slaves over to the so-called Americas, well, they come mainly from the west coast and then parts of the north, because that's where you got to go into that from Babylon to Timbuktu, and in the history of the diaspora, or disbursement of the Jews. And they tell you that the Jews, over 1 million Jews fled into the interiors of Africa, which are the uttermost parts of Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution, man. And the uttermost part of Africa, or the interiors of Africa that's far from, the land of Israel, would be west and parts of the north, all right, of the land of, as Africa, which is really the land of Ham. And you factor in where the land of Israel at, all right, that's a great distance to flee from Roman persecution, man. Okay, and then from there, you fast forward to the transatlantic slave trade, and from there they came over to the Americas on slave ships, and they had Port Judah, Port Benjamin, Port Levi. They were called Hebrews because Esau, with this, crazy pronunciation of words, didn't outright just say Hebrews. He's Hebrews. You know how Esau does with his pronunciation. All right, so a little history. I'm gonna get into it real quick. Uh, this is from the Moors, National Geographic, by the way, so you can see where I'm getting my info from. It says, who were the Moors? If the term seems familiar from art and literature, but still confusing, there's a good reason. Yeah, you're not taught about the Moors in school, by the way, because that's before the so-called white man Esau got the rulership and the power. Um, who he took down? They took down the Moors. You know, something they don't tell you in school. All right. It says if the term Moor seems familiar but confusing, there's a reason. Though the term can be found throughout literature, art, and history books, it does not actually describe a specific ethnicity or race. Well, when you go into it, you understand that um, they were. Matter of fact, I'll get that. Let's see, can I put the online etymology app? If I can, I'll get it. Let's get it. Let's read the term. The word should be there as Marino, and I've done this many times, but hey, it's a thing of repetition. So here you go. Moreno. It says Moreno, a Jew or Moor in Spain, to avoid persecution. Yeah, persecution from who? All right, the so-called Arab, man. The so-called Arabs, which are the Ishmaelites, man. It says a Jew or a Moor in Spain who, to avoid persecution, publicly professed conversion to Christianity while privately continuing in the practices and beliefs of their old religion. Excuse me. Because you had it where the heathen. Well, let's start with this, because the heathen always, when they captured Israelites, they always try to make them or force them to consent to their religion. All right, and the Jakes that were devout towards the Most High and devout to keeping the customs of their ancestors, all right, which are their fathers, and they would privately do it or secretly do it so they won't be publicly persecuted or maybe killed, all right, or whipped or beaten, what have you. And so they would keep the customs privately, all right, in secret, okay, which are the laws, commandments, and statutes. It says, from Spanish, probably literally pig swine. No, that's not it. An expression of contempt. No. It says from Arabic, maram. It says forbidden thing. Eating of pork is forbidden by Muslim and Jewish religious law. Well, that's true. All right, that's true. So there you go. It says Moreno, medieval, which the word for medieval is dark ages. Medieval Spain and Portugal. Yeah, the Portuguese come from the Moors as well. A disparaging term for a Jew who converted to Christianity in order to avoid persecution but continued to practice their religion secretly, which is really the opposite way around. You had the Arabs again, forcing them to consent to Islam, and what they would do is, like I said, behind closed doors or in secret, they would keep the laws, commandments, and statutes. So let's go back to the article. It says, instead, the concept of Moors has been used to describe alternatively the reign of Muslims in Spain. Like I said, the Muslims. What are the Muslims? People who get into the religion of Islam. It says the reign of Muslims in Spain. Europeans of African descent, which they're not Negroes and Africans, or Moors and Africans, are two different total race of people. A Jew, let's put it back up and show you what the word Moor goes back to. It goes back to what? Moreno. The word Jew and Moor go back to Moreno. That's so like today, the word in Spanish Moreno, that means the same thing. Dark, a person is dark. All right, but referring to so-called Negroes. All right, the Africans are not Jews. Now the Jews were in Africa. Okay. Like I said, they fled to Africa from Roman persecution, 70 AD. All right. Back to the article. It says derive. Well, I'm sorry. Did I finish it up? Yeah. It says instead the concept of Moors has been used to describe alternatively the reign of Muslims in Spain, Europeans of African descent, and others for centuries. Derived from the Latin word Maurus, the term was originally used to describe Berbers and other people from the ancient Roman province Mauritania. Yeah, Roman province. 'Cause you know why? The Romans was the ones that captured, all right, and enslaved the Jews. Man, come on, man. That's secular history. All right, that's all in the Bible, man. It says, matter of fact, when you get into the history of that, it really starts with the Greeks, man, because the Greeks transitioned into the Romans. All right, is also known as the Greco-Roman Empire. It says it says derived from the Latin word Maurus, the term was originally used to describe Berbers and other people from the ancient Roman province of Mauritania in what is now North Africa. Over time, it was increasingly applied to Muslims living in Europe. Beginning in the Renaissance, Moor and Blackamoor were also used to describe any person with dark skin. And there you have it, man. I don't need to read no more. All right, which we know the so-called Africans, you're not a Moor, because that doesn't mean you a Jew. Because the word Jew, Moor, and like I said, the whole word Moreno, that all is them words are synonymous with each other because it's the same people. All right, so let's pull this back up and let's get some scripture on that, man. Let's get some scriptures because it says it in the scriptures. I quoted it. Let's get it. I'll get that. Deuteronomy 28. And let's start at 15 so we can understand what's going on. Deuteronomy 28:15. But it shall come to pass if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and the statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So these are the curses that will come upon the Israelites, all right, for not hearkening to the voice of their God, which is Yahweh and his son Yahweh Shai. You gotta say Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai because back then you would just say the name Yahweh. But since the Messiah came on the scene and he's our mediator, and we have to get go through him to get access to the Father, so you have to say Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. That's why we say Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Okay, so he's our high priest on high. So let's go down to the 64th verse. It says, verse 64, and Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And that did happen. All right, that happened clearly. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And we know that wood represents Christianity, and stone represents the Kazakh stone, which pertains to Islam. Okay, and that's what happened. All right, that's pretty much what I read about. Well, when I look at the term Moreno on the etymology app. All right, now check this out. 65. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. Now, when we would go among these heathens, what would they do? They would afflict us, right? And we would have to go through rigorous things as a people, all right, through all these different captivities we've been through, all right? And they would always look to force us to put down our customs and to keep their customs. Hence you have the Hellenization, all right, period, that happened to the Jews, man. Judah, Benjamin, Levi. And that's the key to understanding the New Testament, by the way. It says, well, that's it on that. So, from there, I had another precept I wanted to grab. This is Jeremiah 12 and 9. It says, "Mine heritage unto me is, sorry, my heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about her, the birds round about are against her. Come ye, assemble all the beasts of the field, come to devour." Now, the point is, the Most High says his heritage. He told the prophet Jeremiah that his heritage, which is who's the Most High's heritage? Israel. Is as a speckled bird. A speckled bird has many colors. So, with that being said, with that being said, you're gonna have Israelites looking like different shades of brown, and even looking like the so-called white man. Which the so-called white man, he really looks red. You're gonna have Israelites look like him, man. It is what it is, man. All right. That's a shame unto us, though. All right, for to have our people looking like these heathen, especially the Edomite, man, because the Edomite, according to the law, all right, is unclean the way he looks. All right, the so-called white man looks unclean according to the Bible. All right, now I want to go to Joe Rogan real quick because this guy is under scrutiny for this N-word, right? So let's see here. I looked him up because he actually acknowledges his lineage, and I put it up, of course. This guy actually let's see here. It was early life. Yeah, here we go. Early life. It's from Wikipedia, but it tells you his lineage. It says Joseph James Rogan was born on August 11, 1967, in Newark, New Jersey, USA. So Newark is a rough place, by the way. From what I hear, I've never been there, but what I hear is it's a corner or a ghetto, if you will. The Lord said He will remove us into the corners of the earth. So hey, that's in Deuteronomy the 32nd chapter. The corner is a ghetto. Matter of fact, I can get that. Let's get that. And that in itself is punishment, because living in the ghetto is not a good thing. To live in the ghetto is really a bad thing. Jake brag about, oh, from the hood, man. That's not a good thing, man. That's how low we are as a people for being rebellious and disobedient to the Heavenly Father. It's not a good thing. Let's get it. Type it. I think it's around 32. Yeah, the S on it. Yep, here we go. Deuteronomy 32 and 26. It says, I said I would scatter them into corners. I will make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. See? Now, this is the blue letter right here. So you click on it, right? Let's go to the corner. It's Pa'ar. It says to cleave in pieces, break into pieces, shatter, cleave in pieces, dash to pieces, scatter into corners. Let's see here. Let's go to on the etymology, because I believe it says it clearly, man. Yeah. I remember looking it up, and it said low area living. Let's see what we get here. see. Corner. Not the place where streets on the walls meet. Not that one. It was. Uh, okay, meaning. It says a small, secret, or retired place. Well, the areas we live in is small. The ghetto is small. They bunch us in the ghettos, man. You know, the reservation, you know, there's a little more space, but still small. They try to confine us to small areas of the land. That's a known fact. Um, let's see. I haven't looked this word up in a while. I used to just straight up say it, man. Let's see here. You gotta dig. You gotta dig for it. Corners being to a point of convergence. Meaning to turn a corner, as in a race, drive or force someone into a corner. Also, figuratively, force into a position where defeat or surrender is inevitable. Well, hey, was not we defeated when we warred against slavery, or we fought against slavery? All right, force into a position where defeat or surrender is. Well, the hood is a known. It's a known fact that people that live in the hood, which the Israelites live in the hood, turn out to be failures in life for the most part. Because why? The hood, there's no resources, man. There's no nothing there. Just a slum area. All right. Place of defeat or surrender. Come on, man. A place off to the side of an area. So I'm on the definitions now. It's lucky if it take me a moment, but hey, I gotta dig for it, man. See, a predicament from which a skillful or graceful escape is impossible. Well, you know, that's how Esau got it set up where we can't escape the hood, right? So, hey, a remote area. It says, here we go, a remote area. In many corners of the world, they still practice slavery. See, corners, right? You know, when you in the corner, you're a slave, man, because you're reduced to nothing, right? And the practice of slavery still goes on to today because we're still in captivity, we're still in slavery. We haven't been freed or liberated, and it's a way to control Jake, right? To control the nation of Israel. Because why? Esau can monitor our every move, especially with technology. All right. It says gain control over. Well, I don't need to explain that. Force a person or an animal into a position from which he cannot escape. Well, the hood is designed for you not to escape, like I said. I don't need to explain that, man. All right, that's what it is. So back to Joe Rogan. It says Joseph James Rogan was born on August 11, 1967, in Newark, New Jersey. He is of 3/4 Italian and 1/4 Irish descent. And that'll let you know. Well, well, they call the Irish the angry men. Also, they call it the niggas of Europe because, you know, coming from that dark age period of time or medieval time, they know that they come from the Moors, all right, or the Jews. It says, let's go down to, it was a key part there. That was one of them, but I want to see if I can remember where is that Shalakia. Um, hmm, it may not be in here, but uh, you look this guy up. He admitted that he comes from the Italian, because his father's from the Italian side, and I believe he was saying he mentioned the Moors, because in one of the other video I couldn't find that video again. I seen the video, um, and I couldn't find the video, but Slacky for that. You can look it up yourself. He's mentioned the Moors was that video from his episode. I think it was that same episode too, by the way. But he mentioned that the Moors were the ones that solely created the Italians, especially of the South, which is true. All right. Now let's go from there to the book of James 1:1. It says, James, the servant of the Most High and of the Lord Yahweh Shah Mashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. So, you have a scattering, man. The diaspora, man. The 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. Right, that's the whole nation. The 12 tribes of Israel. All right, the 12 tribes of Israel. Because what 12 tribes are James referring to? The Israelites, man. All right. So Jake was scattered, man. And when you're scattered into these different lands, you're not born into the commonwealth. All right, the commonwealth. All right, that's Ephesians, like it. You're not born into the commonwealth. All right, of Israel. Now you had Israelites that, like Cornelius, that was still into the traditions of his fathers, or his foreparents, and he pretty much was showed favor. He was showing favor because the Most High pretty much brought him in the fold. All right, and Cornelius believed the Most High. He was devout and he had integrity towards the Most High. All right, so you have Israelites that were scattered among the heathen, and they still reverence the Most High. Excuse me. This is Ephesians 2:11, because this is the point. Though they were called Moors or Moreno, or some of them just call them Jews, they still was Israelites. Though they wasn't raised or brought up in the commonwealth, all right, of the land of Israel. And this is going to prove it. Ephesians 2:11. Wherefore remember that ye be in the times past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands. Because why? When you go into the history of the scattering, like I said, the Maccabees, that's a lot of pieces to the Hellenization puzzle, meaning knowing what happened during the time of the Maccabees was a great Hellenization time of the Jews, because they was forced to get down with the Greeks' customs and even speak Greek language. And then a lot of times, well, not just, I won't just say a lot of times, but they was being killed, man. A lot of times they were caught for practicing their own customs. I'll get that in a second. Let me finish this up right here. Verse 12. That at that time you were without Yahweh Shai, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel. Yeah, like I said, Cornelius. All right. You had Timothy, whose father was called the Greek, but you looked it up. It says Hellenist. All right, or Hellenese. if I'm pronouncing it wrong. All right, it says that at that time you were without Yahweh Shai, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope and without the Most High in the world. And that's true, man. All right, and to be Hellenized at that time, all right, even to be well, you can compare that to being Americanized, because we got Americanized through slavery, through Esau coming over here, all right, taking down those of us that descended from Gad, Reuben, and all the rest of the northern tribes, Ephraim, Issachar, so on and so forth, Naphtali, Asher, Manasseh, Zebulun. All right, if I'm missing some, but all the northern tribes, we were conquered. We became Americanized, if you will. Or you could say Hellenized, because we was forced to what? Get down with Esau's customs. And even speak his language, man. Let's see if I can find it on the online etymology app. See what comes up. Let's see. Hellenism. Let's see what this. Oh. Hellenism. It says idiom or expression peculiar to Greek. It says culture and ideals of ancient Greeks, right? Now let's go to Hellenic. See? Or let's go to Hellenistic. Let's see Hellenistic. Of or pertaining to Greece and its culture, from Hellene in ancient Greek. It says specifically of Greek culture. All right, so hey, Hellenist, one who uses the Greek language, though not a Greek. Wow, wow, isn't that what happened? Hold on, let's go to here we go. Here we go. I'll be getting somewhere. Let's go to. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, this is yeah, yeah. Second Maccabees 6. I'm going right to the point. Verse 6. It says, Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient fasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. See? So, like you couldn't even call yourself a Jew or Israelite, man. Continuing down, let's get a little more off that. It says, verse 7, and in that day of the king's birth, every month they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices, and when the fast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus carrying ivy. Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy, that devil, Ptolemy, against the Jews, that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices. This is how one become Hellenized. Verse 9, and whoso would not conform, all right, and whoso would not conform, all right, themselves to the manner of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery. So you fast forward from that period to the Dark Ages, right? What was going on when Jake was war with the so-called Arabs? All right, they did the same thing. No, y'all ain't keeping y'all laws, commandments, and statutes. You're going to consent to our religion. you're gonna get down with Islam. You know, same thing. All right, but back to my original point. You know, you during that time when you had the nation period, you still had Israelites. When when we go into captivity, we would sleep with other nations' women. Hence, you have it where your child could take on the complexion of the mother if it's a so-called white woman, the Edomite woman, and what have you. Right? This guy Joe Rogan dad goes back to um, southern Italy, southern Italian. All right, and he even admitted that the Moors was the sole reason why they was created. Them and the Sicilians. He admitted this, right? And pretty much that's acknowledging your lineage, man, because it's through his father. Just like the guy in the video explained, he said, "Hey, my father was from Sicily. He's Sicilian. Like my father's father. That's what he said. My father's father was Sicilian. He's from Sicily, and he came over here. He lived on the south side of Chicago, and the south side of Chicago was rough, man. Heavily populated with Jake. I know it personally. Been like that for a time. All right, but you're gonna have Israelites that come out of all these different lands. All right, from among these heathen. You know, and it's gonna happen on the Most High's watch when He gathered. All right, the elect and the 1/3, because you're gonna have the elect, in other places as well. All right, you're gonna have a large bulk of them right here in America, but you have the elect, that's scattered, throughout the four corners of the earth, according to Matthew 24. All right, now Isaiah 11 and 11, it says, "And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria." Now, these are the different lands, right? Keep it in mind. All right. "And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea." See? Verse 12, "And he shall set up an ensign, and he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth." See? It mentions Israel, and it mentions what? The dispersed of Judah, the tents of Judah, man. When you go into history, they were sold indiscriminately. The transatlantic slave trade, that in itself, man, along with the other captivities, man. So Israel is scattered, man. But what you see is the Most High is causing Israelites to, like this Joe Rogan guy and this other guy on this podcast doing this clip, to realize and recognize that now they're not all out saying, "No, I'm an Israelite," of the tribe of such and such, so and so, or one of the tribes of the Southern Kingdom. They're not saying that. No, I'm not saying they're doing that. But what they are doing is they digging and acknowledging their lineage, where it goes back to. And when you go deeper, you realize that it goes back to the nation of Israel. All right, so with that, I'm gonna close. Lord willing, this video was edifying to you, Akim and you, Akwaf. Till next time, I say shalom.